The story starts with a masked hero defeating the final boss. Princess Faria was happy that Sanraku had saved her world. Suddenly, Sanraku realized that his long-awaited moment had come, and he looked in the direction of Princess Faria. He jumped and he kicked her in the face with all his strength. Then we see the reality, and Rakuto was happy that he finally beat the game. Rakuto's life was all about VR games, and every year, countless trash games are produced that no one likes to play. Then he was already planning to play the next trash game because he is known as a trash game hunter. Later, he was ready for school and he told his mother that a butterfly got out. After this, he headed out to school, and he was tired because he spent his night to finish the trash game. Then we see Rei waiting for her crush, and she thought about how she could engage him in a conversation. She tried to wait for the right time, but his friend showed up and ruined Rei's chance to talk with Rakuto. In the afternoon, Mana put up a poster in her gaming store to promote a famous game. Then Rei showed up at the store and she looked around the store for her crush. Mana knew she was in love with Rakuto, and she told Rei that he was currently busy playing a trash game. That's how she found out about Faria Chronicle, and Rei remembered hearing that the game was hard to play. Suddenly Rakuto appeared in the store, and Rei hid in the shop because she didn't dare to talk to Rakuto. Mana was surprised that he beat the legendary trash game and said that the game was very hard to play. He said that he hated the female lead the most because she was responsible for most of the problems. Also, he complained that she was often in a bad mood, and he always had to restart from the save point several times. But after fighting the final boss, he had his chance for revenge, and he used the moment to beat her up. Afterwards, Mana planned to help Rei in her mission to win Rakuto's heart. She suggested that instead of playing a trash game, he should play a masterpiece of a game called Shangri La Frontier. A short time later, he read the concept of the game, and he learned that many users called the game the best game of all time. He started his PlayStation 5 with VR system to download the new software from Utopia. Following this, he got ready to form his own opinion on the top-tier game Shangri La Frontier. He logged in and planned to pick his job in the game. Next, he chose his skills, and he was surprised by many appearance options. As a result, he intended to create a cool character, but his character's appearance was questionable. The reason for this was that Rakuto's habit of playing trash games caused him to sell his armor to use all his money for weapons. He also chose a bird mask because it was free, and called himself Sanraku as always. Then we see Rakuto dived into the world of Shangri La Frontier, and he was looking around. He noticed that his starting point was in the forest, and moving around feels pretty much like real life. After this, he tested his new body in the game, and he knew that the game Faria Chronicle was no comparison to this game. He looked at his location, and he planned to go to the starting town Firstia. Then he jumped down from the tree, and he was surprised that his body felt light as a feather. Also, he looked at his stats, but he was attacked by a goblin. He took out his mercenary twin blades from his item box, and waited for the attack. Rakuto easily defeated the monster, and he was surprised to have killed him with a single hit. In addition, his level was increased, and he looked at the dropped weapon. Suddenly he heard a noise, and he realized that a monster was planning to attack him. He dodged a killer rabbit's attack, and he knew that the vapor rabbit's weapon could kill him in one hit. So he was attacked, but Rakuto was able to fend off all of his enemies' attacks with his trash game hunter skills. He proved that he is not a newbie, and he started to launch a counterattack to defeat the monster. As a result, he was able to defeat him, and he was surprised to advance to level 4. After the fight, he realized that he hadn't encountered any bugs since starting the game. He was impressed by the god-tier game SLF, and he planned to fight more bunnies to get their knives. However, Rakuto hunted many monsters in the forest, and he was able to level up quickly. He also managed to defeat many bunnies and managed to get the kitchen knives from them. He realized that the bunnies' knives were very strong, and had learned new skills. After this, he realized that the next town is secondable, but he encountered a huge snake. Meanwhile, a high-leveled knight in white armor appeared in the town Firstia. Then the players wondered why a high-level player was in the starting town. Rei knew that Rakuto always uses the same nickname and wondered why she couldn't find him. She logged out of the game and planned to continue looking for him after lunch. Meanwhile, Rakuto was looking forward to fighting the giant snake, and he began to launch his attack against it. He was excited and wanted to analyze his movements first in order to defeat the giant snake. He was able to dodge all of his attacks, and he was sure that he will win the fight without taking a hit. However, he planned to use his instant kill move, but his sword broke when he attacked the snake. He took out his strongest weapons and planned to defeat him with his bunny knives. Suddenly poison was spat at him, and he didn't manage to dodge in time. He thought it was poop, and realized he was poisoned by his opponent. After that, his pride was hurt, and he knew that the poison will kill him if he didn't manage to defeat the poison snake in 4 minutes. So he thought of a plan, and he planned to land a critical hit. He attacked the snake, but it wasn't easy to cause a critical hit. However, he activated a thunder spell on his daggers and attacked his enemy with his strongest attacks. As a result, he managed to cause many critical hits to weaken the monster. Suddenly he was thrown into the air, but he realized that he became pretty cocky because he beaten Feria Chronicles. He decided to get serious and attacked with his skill flash counter, and combined it with a final blow. As a result, he managed to defeat the area boss, and his level was increased. He was happy, and celebrated his victory against his first area boss in SFL. Unfortunately, he was still poisoned, and he tried to survive to the next town. He ran to the next town and didn't want to lose at the beginning of the game. Then we see Reiji, who was flirting with Mia. He was happy that he could get to know his real-life crush better in the game, but Sanraku showed up. Mia thought he was a monster, but Reiji told her that he got a character name. Reiji suspected that he was poisoned, and explained him that he can heal himself after resting in the inn. Then he explained to Mia the reason why the guy didn't have armor, and Mia said that he sounded like a veteran. When he arrived at the inn, Sanraku told the NPC to skip the explanation because he was about to die. He ran to his room, but he didn't manage to heal himself in time. Then he logged out, and next time he wanted to thank Reiji for his help. The following day, he logged back into SFL, and he planned to hit the top player ranks. Meanwhile, they were wondering why Sanraku was half naked, and he decided to buy clothes. Following this, he tried to sell his goblin axe, but the store owner didn't want to buy his trash. He looked at the weapons in the shop and learned that the man could also forge weapons. Afterwards, he went to the Dire Marsh Waste to collect materials for a powerful weapon. Unfortunately, it took a long time for Grey Ore to drop, and he got angry. Suddenly a mud frog appeared, and he didn't feel like fighting him. The mud frog teased him by digging mud at him, and he threw his pickaxe at the monster. Sanraku planned to eliminate him, and he took out his goblin axe from his item box. A few moments later, he defeated the monster and he received mud frog skin. He planned to continue mining Grey Ore, and was trying to hurry up to get a new weapon. 3 hours later, he returned to the blacksmith, and he learned that he had mined a Bitcoin. The blacksmith immediately began to forge a weapon out of the Bitcoin, and he used the time to buy potions. After this, he got his god-tier Bitcoin daggers, and he learned that the blacksmith can forge even better weapons. In the evening, his penalty death was over, and he planned to fight against strong monsters with his new weapons. Meanwhile, Rei was fighting a giant snake. She had searched the entire beginner's area for Rakuto. After she defeated the monster, she already suspected that Rakuto was already in the next town. Then we see Sanraku, who was fighting against a strong goblin. He hunted monsters and was surprised that Redcap Goblin was able to block his attacks. At that moment, he decided to get serious, and he planned to apply the knowledge he had learned. He watched his enemy's movements and planned his next attack, but he had a problem, and more Redcap Goblins surrounded him. Suddenly he was attacked by all the monsters, and he underestimated the game. He managed to defeat all the goblins, but he sensed that a strong monster had appeared. A unique monster appeared in front of him, and he was shocked to face him. Lycagon the Night Slayer was enveloped in a powerful aura, and we learned that no unique monster has ever been sent into the game SFL. Then we see that Rei was still playing the game SLF to find Rakuto. She found 2 people who met Sunraku, but Mia thought Rei was a monster. However, Reiji stopped Mia to PK another player, and she was sad. Reiji told about the direction Sanraku went, and Rei was surprised that Rakuto had managed to defeat an area boss with no gaming experience. In addition, she thanked them for the information and activated a boost spell. She ran off and tried to find her crush in the next town. After this, Reiji noticed that the White Knight was wearing a cape with the picture of Lycagon the Night Slayer. He told Mia about unique monsters that exist in the world of SLF. Clans of top players were founded and they tried to hunt down the strong monsters. Unfortunately, there was hardly any information about it because no one had defeated a unique monster yet. But Sanraku encountered a strong unique monster, and he knew he was in big trouble. Suddenly he was attacked by the unique monster, but he blocked his attack in time. He tried to survive and counterattacked. After his attack, he realized that he had no chance of defeating him. Rakuto was glad he had spent the night grinding because it gave him a skill to dodge his attack without taking damage. Following this, he activated a strong boost skill to increase his power and launched another attack. As a result, he managed to cause a critical hit on his strong enemy Lycagon the Night Slayer. Suddenly his enemy became invisible, and Rakuto managed to dodge in time. He didn't give up, and managed to land more critical hits. Unfortunately, the black wolf disappeared again, and he knew that a single hit could end his life. Then he tried to somehow defeat his enemy, but he noticed that his enemy got the skill teleportation. Sanraku was in trouble, but he charged towards his opponent to confront him. He was focused on the fight and tried to analyze his opponent's attack pattern. His opponent attacked with different techniques, and he couldn't find any way to attack. Soon after, he knew his attacks were useless, and he needed a plan before his weapons fell apart. Sanraku didn't give up because he beat hundreds of trash games. However, he enjoyed the god-tier game SLF and started launching several critical hits. So he attacked the monster several times, but his attacks caused no damage. Sanraku thought that his eye was the weak point, but he was wrong. Suddenly his enemy started to launch a counterattack, and he used his special skill. As a result, Sanraku could no longer move, and he didn't understand what the Black Wolf had done. He knew he had lost, and didn't believe anyone would come to help. At the last moment, Rakuto praised the monster and gave up his goal of defeating the final boss. He decided that his main goal would be to defeat Likagon, the Night Slayer. Then he was eaten by his enemy, and his life ended for the second time in the game. After being eaten, he realized his punishment was Likagon's mark. He realized that he was screwed because he could no longer use his equipment. In addition, he learned about the other side effects and he was shocked. He couldn't believe he was cursed and looked out the window. Then he went for a walk and he realized that his curse was like a bug from a trash game. He tried to calm down and remembered the rules for playing trash games. Following this, he distributed his stat points and he realized that his highest stat is luck. However, Sanraku became desperate, but a cute rabbit fell from the sky on his head. He thought it was a Vorpal bunny, but it looked different somehow. Suddenly he ran away, and Rakuto was asked to follow him. The bunny was extremely fast, and Rakuto tried to catch up with him. He was lured to an alley, and a magical door opened. Then Rakuto learned that he got an invitation from Rabituza. He remembered reading about these unique scenarios. When he read about it, he learned that in the most unique scenarios he could get top-class skills, spells, or equipment. He was excited about his next adventure, and was looking forward to getting some cheat skills. He entered the door, and after the door closed, it said that he needed level 80 to pass it. Following this, he saw a bunny town, and everywhere he looked, there were numerous Vorpal bunnies. Suddenly he was welcomed by Emil, and she was a big fan of Sanraku because she had watched his fight. He learned that the Night Slayer can even defeat dragons with just one attack, but Sanraku managed to land many critical hits. Then he found out that the boss of Rabituza town wanted to see him. So he was taken to the palace of Rabituza, and he was impressed by the building. Emil said that he was the first person to be allowed to enter the palace, and Sanraku was excited. Then he was led to the room of Emil's father. After entering the room, he met the boss, and he was shocked to see the leader of their town. The boss was a bunny yakuza who liked to drink rice juice. Visage looked like a dangerous guy, and Sanraku was surprised to see him. Suddenly Sanraku was asked if he could do him a favor, and Visage waited for his answer. Sanraku was confused and wondered what kind of favor he has to do. Then we see a few months earlier and Rei failed in a trash game. Mana wanted to help her impress her crush and recommended the game SLF. As a result, Rei was convinced to buy the SLF game. At that time, Mana didn't know that her advice had turned Rei into an SLF-addicted player. The following day, Rei visited Mana's game store and Mana knew that she tried to find her crush. Mana learned that Rei tried to find Rakuto in the game, but he skipped the first tutorial city. After that, Mana wished her good luck in finding Rakuto and told her to tell him her feelings. Meanwhile, Rumi told her big brother that she will go to work. Rakuto was looking for more information about the unique scenarios in the game SLF. As a result, he found out more about the tour of Rabituza. He learned that he would normally encounter a snake at the game event, but he was asked for a favor by the Yakuza bunny. Then he was told about the request, and he understood that it was a secret training to make him stronger. Suddenly he bowed to Visage and called him Aniki, because he wanted to get his power up at all cost. After this, he thought that Visage was angry with him, but he was wrong. He was happy that Sanraku showed him his respect, and he allowed him to call him by his nickname. In addition, Vash put him in Emil's care and told his daughter to show him the town. Before they left, Sanraku wanted to take a break, and Emil wanted to show him their inn. Suddenly Vash remembered that he had forgotten to give Sanraku an unshu item. He learned that the Vorpal Soul Collar would have his experience and was told that he could not remove it without Vash's permission. But in contrast, he received double the stats points and he found no information about the Yakuza bunny. Then he drank an energy drink and wanted to play another trash game. He logged into Berserk Online, which was a fighting game. The reason for this was that only trash game hunters played the game. He planned to fight against his friend Katsuo and accepted his challenge. Katsuo wanted to show him a new attack that he learned after watching One Piece. Suddenly he was attacked, and he dodged the tentacle gatling of his enemy. Sanraku said that he is a One Piece fan too, and he launched a counter-attack with the same attack. Then the other players noticed that the two top players of Berserk Online were fighting each other. Sanraku tried to defeat Katsuo, but he lost the fight. After this, he told Katsuo that he had a lot of fun playing SLF, because there are a crazy strong monster called the Seven Colossi. Besides, no one has defeated any of him yet, and Katsuo learned of Sanraku's goal. Katsuo also decided to start playing SLF. The reason for his decision was that he was bored without Sanraku in the game. Additionally, he wrote Amane a message that Sanraku plays SLF. In the game, she was known as Arthur, and she killed many players with ease. After she PK'd many players, she was looking forward to meeting Sanraku to fight against him. Meanwhile, Sanraku returned to town secondable, and Emil wondered what his plan was. Sanraku told her that before looking at Rabituza, he wanted to reach the city of Therdrima. Suddenly Emil said that she hadn't understood any of his words, but she wanted to accompany Sanraku. As a result, Sanraku got Emil as his partner, and he was surprised that she got overpowered stats. Emil was happy to travel with her favorite warriors in SLF. After that, some girls showed up and Emil almost told the secret about the unique scenario. He ran away, and the girls took a screenshot because they also wanted to tame a cute bunny like Emil. Following this, they were outside the city, and Emil learned that Sanraku wanted to test something. He wanted to find out about his curse mark, because weak monsters immediately flee from him. Suddenly, a low-rank monster appeared, and the monster immediately ran away after discovering Sanraku's curse mark. He chased the monster and blocked its path to defeat it with his bunny knives. Meanwhile, Emil was impressed by her favorite warrior, and he planned to fight the area boss. Arriving at a swamp, they couldn't find the area boss, and he remembered Emil's words. He remembered that the area boss's name is Mud Digger, and he didn't want to fight in a swamp. Suddenly, the Mud Digger appeared in front of him, and he prepared for battle. The Mud Digger was jumping out of the swamp, and his enemy was glaring at him. Sanraku was shocked to see the area boss in front of him. Also, he understood that he had to be careful because the monster was very dangerous. Then Sanraku thought of a strategy for his fight, because the swamp was locking down his speed. Suddenly the area boss dived into the mud, and Emil told Sanraku that she didn't want to die. He activated his slide move spell to avoid the enemy's attack. After that, Sanraku waited and wanted to test his new skills that he gained from fighting Likagon. However, Sanraku blocked the attack of his enemy and he started to use his repel counter skill. As a result, he managed to injure his enemy. He had to wait 10 seconds before he could use his skills again, but the Mud Digger didn't hesitate to attack again. Sanraku was in danger and he had no skills left to block the attack. Suddenly, Emil activated his magic edge spell, and she managed to push the monster back. Sanraku was surprised, and he realized that from now on, he got a strong partner on his side. This gave Sanraku a chance to defeat the monster, and he tried to get closer. Unfortunately, the area boss woke up, but Sanraku had a plan. He activated his spiral edge skill, and was able to create an opportunity to attack. He then climbed up on the top of the monster, and Emil was impressed. He told Emil to activate a spell again, and she prepared an explosion spell. Sanraku used his repel counter skill to allow Emil to take advantage of the opportunity to cast her spell. As a result, she attacked the Mud Digger with her power-boosting magic edge spell. Suddenly, Sanraku noticed that the Mud Digger disappeared and the swamp started moving. He knew the fight wasn't over yet and threw Emil into the air to protect her. Meanwhile, Sanraku was thrown into the air and he wondered what the monster was up to. He realized that the area boss was throwing him into the air on purpose, because he planned to kill him with a fatal fall. So he tried to find a way out. He wondered if a spell from Emil could save him, but he realized that would also kill him. So Sanraku decided to accept his death, and he prepared for all his HP to go down to 0. Emil didn't give up and activated a spell to save Sanraku. Suddenly he was teleported over the Mud Digger and his demise turned into a counterattack. He accidentally headbutted his opponent, and he caused enormous damage on the Mud Digger. Sanraku was able to finally defeat the monster with his luck, and he survived with 1 HP. He was grateful to have Emil by his side and thanked her for saving him. Sanraku had a lot of fun and he planned to go to the next town with Emil. Later he ate medicinal herbs to regenerate his HP, and he was impressed by Emil's power. Emil said that she can't wait to get to the next town, and Sanraku was worried because they will attract a lot of attention. Suddenly, Emil told about her secret item called Mysterious Vorpal Bracelet. She activated her bracelet and transformed into a human. As a result, they could enter the next town without attracting attention, but he found it a bit weird because it made the game feel more like a harem game than an RPG game. Suddenly, Emil transformed back into her bunny form, and he learned that she can only transform for 5 minutes. Later they arrived in the town Thurdrema, and Emil was excited to enter the big city. So they went off and tried to enter the town. The guards found him suspicious, but Emil told the guards a lie. She said that Sanraku is a legendary hero, and he was cursed after saving humanity. As a result, she managed to convince the guards that Sanraku is a super warrior. She asked the guards to let Sanraku enter the city, and he noticed 2 users whispering about him. Suddenly, Animalia appeared behind him and she stopped him. The reason for this was that the girls on Secondable took a screenshot about him. This is how many SLF players found out about Emil and Sanraku became famous. After the message was sent, many players wondered if having a bunny as a pet was a cheat. Animalia remembered Sanraku's name, and many other players noticed his tattoo. They were shocked that he was the person who had encountered Likagon. In addition, the famous PK clan Orkalot of Ashura Kai clan decided to hunt Sanraku. Meanwhile, Sigers also became aware of Sanraku and wanted to learn more about Likagon's mark. Animalia then asked how she can tame a Vorpal bunny, and Sanraku wondered where the girl got the information. He didn't know what to answer, but a person attacked him from behind. However, Sanraku managed to dodge the enemy's attack in time, and he immediately knew that the person was Pencil Knight. She replied that in SLF her name is Arthur Pencilgon, and Sanraku knew that he is in trouble. Additionally, she said that she is happy to have found him, and Sanraku saw that she got a PK symbol on her name. However, Sanraku met his friend in Trash Gamer Hood Pencil Knight, and he was ready for battle. Then we see the Trash Game unite rounds, and some players were stealing goods from an item shop. Suddenly, Sanraku appeared behind them, and he eliminated them because he wanted the items. The main goal of the game was to defend the kingdom, but the drop rate was unreasonably low. As a result, players found it difficult to get items and began stealing from item shops. In this world where everyone was enemies, Pencil Knight had taken control of the kingdom. Sanraku and Katsu were looting in Pencil Knight's castle, and Sanraku's goal in the game was to defeat Pencil Knight. This is how they first met Pencil Knight in the game Unite rounds, and they challenged her. Since then, they have had countless battles and become rivals, testing their strength in various trash games. Then Arthur started attacking him, saying that she had been looking for him everywhere. So she tried to kill him with some knives, but Sanraku blocked her attack, and he knew that the knives were poisoned. Meanwhile, Animalia was shocked that the second command of that player-killer clan, Ashura Kai, was standing in front of her. Sanraku was surprised about her nickname Giant Killer. Suddenly, Sanraku made a joke, and she really liked it. After that, she started attacking him, and he tried to overwhelm Pencilgon with his bunny knives. Sanraku was able to block all attacks, even though his level was significantly lower than Pencilgon's. Following this, he launched a counterattack, but she also blocked his attack. Sanraku noted that she is trying to keep him away from the gate because it would cause her problems to fight in the city. Pencilgon planned to get serious, and she started attacking Sanraku. Meanwhile, Emul slowly transformed back into a vaporal bunny, and Animalia still had questions for Sanraku. Suddenly, Emul turned back into a bunny, and Animalia was surprised about her transformation. Sanraku knew they got a big problem, but he couldn't save Emul. The reason for this was that Pencilgon didn't give him time to help Emul, and he used a skill to repel her attack. He was able to stop her attack with a counterattack, and she was impressed. Then he took advantage of his opportunity, and he ran into the city with Emul. Animalia wanted to take a screenshot with Emul, and he replied that he would think about it if they survive. However, Pencilgon began to chase Sanraku, but Animalia cast an explosion spell. She planned to protect Emul at all costs, and Sanraku told Emul that he is happy to have her as his partner. Suddenly he stopped because other players from the Asura Kai clan were chasing him. They wanted to eliminate him, and Sanraku's plan to escape to the city to Rabbituza failed. Pencilgon then thanked Sanraku because with his help, she got the chance to fight against a player from the Monster Documentary clan. Sanraku prepared to fight against the players from the PK clan and waited for the attack. After this, the fight began, and he planned to defeat the 4 PKers. Meanwhile, Animalia began to activate a powerful spell to attack Pencilgon with 5 different elements. Unfortunately, Pencilgon got an item to absorb Animalia's magic. Pencilgon launched a counterattack, and Animalia lost almost all of her HP. Then she learned that Pencilgon possessed a karmic straw doll, which was a very rare item. In the meantime, Sanraku was still busy with the 4 PKers, and he decided to choose a target. Before the enemies could attack Sanraku, Rei appeared and saved him. As a result, one of the enemies was defeated, and they were shocked that the famous attack master showed up. Sanraku was confused, and Rei was happy that she had finally found her crush. Then we see a few hours earlier, and Rei was wondering why she couldn't find Rakuto in the game. She remembered when Mana gave her the advice not to give up and to confess her feelings to Rakuto. Also, Rei bought a lot of trash games, and she couldn't find any that she could play with him together. So her only option was to dive into SLF to locate Rakuto with the player named Sanraku. In the game, she received a message from her clan, and she was surprised to receive information about Sanraku. On the way to the city of Thirdrema, she also learned about the PKers who planned to attack him. Rei activated her boost skill and ran towards Thirdrema at full speed. Just before she arrived, she saw that Sanraku was under attack, and he was in a PvP against 4 players. Rei immediately took out her weapon and began to launch her attack to save Sanraku. Meanwhile, Pencilgon thought that the PKers were destroyed by Sanraku because she was aware of his trash game hunter skills. Suddenly she noticed that Saiger Zero appeared too, and she was happy that Sanraku had lured another badass player. Before she could join the fight, Animalia stopped her and she said that she still got a trump card. We then see Rei, who was watching Rakuto on the way to school. She admired him because he was smiling every day. Since that day she fell in love with Rakuto, and all she could think about was her crush. After school she planned to find a connection to her crush. In the following day, she was looking at Rakuto in the game store, and she started to smile after seeing him. Mana caught her doing this, and she often tried to talk to him at school. Rei wasn't brave enough, but she didn't give up. Then we see that moment when Rei showed up to save Sanraku. She joined the fight, and he was wondering if the knight was an enemy. Sanraku tried to find a way out, and Animalia revealed her secret attack. Pencilgon knew she couldn't reflect another curse, and she was wiped out. Her teammates were shocked that Pencilgon was defeated, and Sanraku said that Emil should get ready to create a gate. Suddenly Sanraku jumped over the players, and he planned to escape to Rabatuza with the help of Emil. He tried to reach the next city, but his enemies wouldn't let him escape. Rei stopped the PKers, and he remembered Rei's player name. Afterwards, the members of the Ashura Kai were angry, but Rei could only think about Sanraku. She was glad that he had spoken to her, and the enemies tried to attack her. But Rei easily defeated the attacking opponent, and the members of Ashura Kai were scared. She launched her attack to eliminate them, and Sanraku managed to escape to Rabatuza. Meanwhile, Emil enjoyed his energy drink, and Sanraku was happy that they survived. Pencilgon also sent him a message asking if he was friends with Saiger Zero. In addition, she told him that he should write to Katsuo and that they should meet together in Unite rounds. Katsuo had also sent him a message, and the 2 boys suspected that Pencilgon was just annoyed because she couldn't kill Sanraku in SLF. After that, he told Emil that he planned to start the unique scenario in Rabituza. As a result, Emil led him to the arena, where he would undergo a serious combat training. Then he arrived at the Vorpal Coliseum, and Sanraku was surprised by the amazing place. Sanraku was explained that he would fight against strong monsters that Vash had chosen. He said he was ready, and Emil began to release the monsters. Suddenly, several level 65 packhounds appeared, and Sanraku was shocked. He asked Emil why he had to fight multiple enemies over level 65. In the meantime, Rei was happy that she had talked to Sanraku. She remembered when Sanraku used her head as a trampoline, and she blushed. She also planned to send a friend request to Sanraku next time. Then she wondered if Sanraku had logged out because she couldn't find him in Thirdrema. He was still in the arena, and Emil hoped that Sanraku could defeat the monsters on the 7th attempt. Then he dodged the packhound's attacks, and he used his slide move skill. During his many attempts, a packhound always hid from him, but he managed to figure out how to get to the monster and attacked with his spiral edge attack. Sanraku was able to predict the monster's attacks, and he showed him his trash game hunter skills. Following this, he started to land many critical hits. Emil was impressed by her favorite hero, and he defeated them with his vapor knives. Then Emil said that the next one is definitely a single opponent. Sanraku was shocked after seeing the parasite tentacle in front of him. After that, he encountered many strong monsters in the Rabituza arena, but no one could defeat him. A few hours later, he managed to defeat 9 monsters, and he wondered if his level had increased. He learned that he wasn't even a single level higher. In the meantime, Vash appeared, and he was impressed by Sanraku. Sanraku asked about the final boss, and Vash showed him a sealed monster that he had captured. Then the seal was released, and Sanraku wondered if it was a sorcerer-type monster. Vash knew he couldn't win, and he said he only had to survive 5 minutes against the aberrant wood mage. Then the battle began, and Sanraku was almost wiped out by the monster. He realized that his opponent was overpowered, and Vash enjoyed the show. Following this, we learned that Sanraku was fighting against a level 120 monster, even though he is only level 30. Sanraku tried to launch a counterattack, and he charged towards his opponent. He managed to hit the opponent, but he realized he didn't do any damage. At that moment, he realized that physical attacks didn't work, and he tried to survive somehow. Emil cheered him on in the fight, and she told him that he had to survive for 4 more minutes. Meanwhile, Vash was curious to see whether Sanraku would manage to survive the 5 minutes. Sanraku was constantly attacked, and his opponent gave him a lot of trouble with his skills. Suddenly, the wood mage's attack strategy changed. Sanraku blocked the chains, and his friend Emil was worried about him. The fight against the wood mage was very intense, and Sanraku still couldn't create an opportunity to launch a counterattack. The enemy almost managed to hit him, but Sanraku didn't give up. Suddenly, the wood mage cast an electric spell. Sanraku was annoyed by his random skills, and he almost got burned. Then Sanraku realized that the more times passes, the more his enemy mixes up the magic types. He wondered if he could manage to survive, and the enemy's attacks were getting stronger and stronger. He knew that if it continued like this, he would die before the 5 minutes were up. The wood mage also activated a new spell, and Sanraku found it unfair that physical attacks didn't work. He continued to try not to get hit by the attacks, and he couldn't believe that only 2 minutes had passed so far. Also, he was starting to get tired, and was planning on giving up on the quest. Suddenly, he changed his mind about giving up, and he wondered since when he became such a pushover. He remembered the fights before, and that he gave up in SLF when the situation was hopeless. At that moment, he decided to survive at all costs, and protect his honor as a trash game hunter. Sanraku started a counterattack, and he charged towards the wood mage. Meanwhile, the enemy attacked him with powerful spells. He managed to get through the waves of attacks, and Vash was impressed. However, he was aiming at the monster's wand, which he used to nullify physical damage. The monster tried to retrieve his wand, but Sanraku stopped him and planned to end the fight. Suddenly, the monster activated his God of Destruction skill, but Sanraku managed to steal his wand, and 2 minutes remained. Vash wanted to see what Sanraku could do as a legendary warrior. He was attacked by the enemy with powerful attacks. He managed to avoid them, and Emil cheered him on, saying that he only had to survive for another minute. Then a wall was created in front of him, and Sanraku was bound with iron chains. The reason for this was that the monster wanted his wand back. There were only 30 seconds left, and Sanraku threw his wand into the sky. As a result, he was able to distract the wood mage as he tried to catch his wand. Additionally, Sanraku began insulting him to buy time. He successfully managed to survive for 5 minutes, but the monster still attacked him. Before he died, Vash appeared and defeated the monster. He crushed the wood mage and was impressed by Sanraku's abilities. Emil was happy for Sanraku and congratulated him on his victory. After that, Sanraku learned that he had passed the quest, and Vash declared him to an honorary Rabituzan. Sanraku wondered if he would still get a rare item, and Vash only removed the Vorpal Soul Collar. He was disappointed that he didn't get a special item and was asked to start the bonus unique scenario. He then logged out and immediately fell asleep. The following day, Emil was taking care of a cactus, and Sanraku wasn't sure if he should start the bonus scenario. He decided against it and wanted to reach the next area first. Then he realized that he cannot leave Rabituza without a disguise, otherwise he will be hunted again. He couldn't hide Likagos' mark, but Emil had a solution to the problem. Following this, she showed Sanraku a shop in the palace of Rabituza. Peets was pleased to meet the famous Birdman, and Sanraku said that his head is just a mask. Emil saw for the first time that Sanraku had taken off the mask. Peets then showed him a very intriguing textile that she had recently received. Later he bought a map, and the shopkeeper was shocked because Sanraku looked like a ghost. He was angry and asked why he had to put on a meme costume. Emil tried to calm him down, and she drank many mana potions along the way. Then he activated the map, and he looked at the different places along the way. Sanraku didn't know which place to choose, and Emil suggested the Fell Fate Caldera. But he decided to go to Prismatic Forest Grotto first, and he told Emil the reason for his choice. He started to tell Emil a long story, but she noticed that they were being watched. Then we see the night before, and the leader of the Ashura Kai clan was angry. The members reported to Orsalot that they could not expect Attack Master to join in. Pencilgon was annoyed to hear a lecture and asked why Orsalot didn't take care of the matter himself. Then he said that the bunny is the key to some unique stuff. He said he really wants the information from Sanraku. Suddenly Pencilgon said that they had to take care of another matter first. Orsalot replied that unique monsters aren't made to be beatable. The other members of the Ashura Kai clan agreed with him. As a result, Pencilgon decided to ignore Orsalot's orders because she considered her clan members useless. She was disappointed that not even one of the strongest clans in SLF dared to fight against a unique monster. She understood that she couldn't count on her clan, and planned to message some special players to defeat one of the 7 colossi called Weathermon the Tomb Guard. Then we see Sanraku, who thought that Saiger Zero planned to get his revenge for stepping on him. He immediately ran away and Ray wondered why he was trying to escape. Meanwhile, the members of the Ashura Kai clan were searching for Sanraku. They discovered him because of his player name and they started chasing him. Ray was also after Sanraku, and he didn't yet know that the PKers were chasing him. Then Emil said that the PKers are after them, and she wondered why Sanraku was going in the wrong direction. But he explained to her that he has a plan. He planned to deceive them with a fake-out and make them think he was on his way to the ruins. After that, the PKers fall for his trick and he planned to set off to the prismatic forest. Then he arrived at his destination, and he was shocked after seeing Saiger Zero standing behind him. Ray sent him a friend request and he was surprised that Saiger Zero wasn't angry at him. Sanraku was confused, and he suspected that Saiger Zero just wanted to be friends with him, to get information about the secret unique scenario. But Sanraku knew that he couldn't defeat Saiger Zero yet, and he decided to accept the friend request. Ray was relieved, and she was happy that her crush had accepted the friend request. Afterwards, Ray offered Sanraku that he could help him through the game. He was suspicious and declined her offer. Suddenly Sanraku apologized for stepping on his face, but she wasn't angry. Following this, he said goodbye, and Emil learned that Saiger Zero is currently 3 times stronger than Sanraku. Emil tried to cheer him up and they set off to the prismatic forest. Meanwhile, Ray was glad that Emil is an NPC and she was able to make some progress. We then see that the PKers from the Ashura Kai clan tried to locate Sanraku, but they decided to turn back because they didn't want to mess with the attack master. Arriving at the entrance to the prismatic forest, Emil transformed back into a bunny and Sanraku took off his meme costume. He entered the prismatic forest and he was amazed by the unique view. He then looked around with Emil, and they discovered monsters that collected nectar similar to butterflies. Sanraku was fascinated by the ecosystem in the RPG forest, and he was excited to explore this area. After looking around, he took out his daggers. Emil cheered him on and he began attacking a storage papillon. As a result, he received the nectar pouch from the monster. Emil was looking forward to further adventures in the forest, and Sanraku said that they will have a lot of fun in this area. Later, Sanraku had his next target in mind, and he took out a throwing knife from his item box. He told Emil to watch him closely. Suddenly he started attacking the monster, and he was able to surprise the monster with his sneak attack. He easily defeated him, and his fan number 1 thought the show was brilliant. He then looked to see if the monster had dropped an item, but the tree they were standing on was attacked by a rhinoceros beetle. The reason for this was that he was behind the honey that the bees produced on the tree. Emil suspected that there would be a fight soon, and they secretly watched them. Suddenly Sanraku decided to play the commentator, and he learned that Emil is not suitable for it. Meanwhile, the Empire bees were defeated and he immediately regretted passing the microphone to Emil. She was disappointed that she had failed, but Sanraku continued with the comments. He said the rhinoceros beetle gained the upper hand, and the Empire Queen Bee was wiped out. As a result, the quad beetles fled and the fight was over. After the fight, Sanraku and Emil realized that the rhinoceros beetle had spotted them. They ran away, and Emil was terrified. Suddenly Sanraku had an idea, and he took out the nectar pouch from his box. He threw it at a mimic mantis to distract the monster behind them. So he was able to create a chance to attack the rhinoceros beetle with strong skills. As a result, he was able to defeat the monster and got an inventory full of items. Afterwards they went further, and Sanraku discovered spider webs. Emil told Sanraku that the area boss is a spider, and they discovered a cave. Then we see a few minutes earlier and 3 SLF players were planning to fight the area boss. They entered the cave and Soma stepped on a spider web. Suddenly they noticed that the clown spider is above them, and they started to scream. Meanwhile, Sanraku was wondering why he couldn't enter and he spotted a guy falling out of the air. Suddenly he died because a huge rock fell from the cave and the entrance was open. Sanraku entered the cave, and he was ready to fight the area boss. Following this, he told Emil that he planned solo the clown spider on his first try. Emil asked if he was sure with his decision that she should just watch him in the fight. He replied yes and charged towards the enemy. On the way, he dodged the spider webs, and he planned to use his new learned skills in battle. Afterwards, a huge stone was thrown at him, but he dodged it with ease. The huge stone almost fell on Emil, but she managed to dodge it in time. Then Emil noticed that he is heading a sticky web, and she was surprised that they weren't sticky at all. Sanraku explained to her that the radial threads of a spider's web aren't sticky. Meanwhile, the area boss was planning to get serious, but Sanraku avoided the huge stones with his jumping skills. As a result, he was able to reach the clown spider and the fight started. He attacked with his loop slash and was able to injure the monster's right leg. He continued the series of attacks, and the spider fell down. At the last moment, the clown spider tried to save himself, but Sanraku stopped him. Sanraku already suspected that the area boss would not be easy to defeat, and he threw down the huge rocks that the clown spider had stored in his hiding place. So Sanraku's attack began, and Emil cheered him on in his fight. Shortly afterwards, Sanraku went down to see if the area boss had been defeated, but he survived. The clown spider was angry and intended to crush Sanraku, but he dodged the attack. Suddenly, the pattern on the area boss's back reminded him of Likagon. He became angry and attacked with his strongest attack because he doesn't want to be defeated by Likagon again. As a result, he was able to wipe out the area boss, and he came closer to his goal of becoming stronger. Emil celebrated his victory with Sanraku, and he received a message from Pencilgon. Then we see Katsuo, who also played SLF, and he also received a message from Pencilgon. The following day, Rei visited the game store to tell Mana about her success. Suddenly, a customer entered the game store, and Mana knew she was hoping to meet Rakudo. Mana told her that Rakudo was probably playing SLF right now. Then Rei was on his way home and she spotted Rakudo in a convenience store. Meanwhile, he was surprised to see an interview from his pro-gamer friend Katsuo. While reading, he also discovered something about the upcoming update that Pencilgon had mentioned. Rakudo met with Pencilgon at Unite Rounds yesterday. Pencilgon was angry that Katsuo and Sanraku stormed her castle and killed all of her servants. The two boys laughed at this, but Pencilgon didn't think what they did was that funny. Then she talked about the main topic, and Pencilgon asked if the two of them would like to defeat a unique monster with her. She knew the two boys were interested, and she planned to challenge the unique monster the day after the big summer update. In this moment, Sanraku wondered why Pencilgon invited low-level newbies, but she said that the level doesn't matter. She told them that they were capable of winning, and the two boys became curious. Suddenly Sanraku said that they will join if she gives them the full story. Back in the present, he paid for the snacks at the convenience store and was approached by Rei. Rei greeted him, and he remembered that she was in their class last year. He remembered her name and she asked if he was shopping in the grocery store. Then Rei said that Mana told her that he plays SLF. She tried to ask him if he wanted to play SLF with her, but at that moment, he received a message from Pencilgon. Pencilgon spammed him with messages, and he said he has to leave. Rei was happy that she was making progress, and she was sure that he will be busy with SLF for a while. In the afternoon, Rakudo was home, and he immediately logged into SLF. When he logged in, Emil wished him good morning, but he told her to back off. She asked him what's on agenda today, and he had a few questions for him. Then Emil learned that he planned to fight one of the Colossi, and she was shocked. She opened a gate to Rabbituza and wanted to tell her dad about it. Then Sanraku remembered that he had learned from Pencilgon that he should keep Emil out of the fight, because an NPC cannot be revived after dying. A short time later, Vash learned about Sanraku's plan to fight against Weathermon the Tomb Guard. He tried to stay calm because he wanted to get some information about Weathermon from Vash. He was also confident that he could do it because he even managed to finish Feria Chronicle. Then Vash said that Sanraku is still weak and he was aware of it. He replied that he wasn't doing this to win. In addition, he explained to Vash that he was only playing a supporting role and that a friend of his would be doing most of the fighting. As a result, Sanraku told Vash about Pencilgon and her plan to take down Weathermon the Tomb Guard. Vash replied that they have no chance of winning against him, and it's still a reckless move. Sanraku didn't give up and he tried to convince Vash not to stop him. So Sanraku said that he was weak, but he was convinced that he could win the fight with his friends. Then Sanraku said that he has the honor of a Vorpal soul, and he managed to convince Vash with these words. Vash started talking about Weathermon, and Sanraku learned that he's a living corpse unable to even put himself to rest. After that, Vash said that he doesn't plan on stopping him, and he said that Sanraku should come with him because he will lend him a bit of a hand after all. As a result, Sanraku was led to a forge and he was hoping for a power-up. Suddenly Bilak showed up in the forge and Emil was greeting her beloved big sister. Then she said that Emil and her dad had already told a lot about him. After that, Vash looked at the Vorpal knives from Sanraku. He said to Bilak that he was going to ascend these. Bilak was surprised that her father planned to wield the hammer. Suddenly Vash asked if Sanraku had rare materials, and he remembered a material he had recently collected. Sanraku gave him the shell of a quad beetle that he defeated in the prismatic forest. Vash looked at the material and told Sanraku that this material would work. Following this, Vash started forging, and Bilak said that he is a lucky guy. Sanraku learned that Vash hasn't wielded the hammer for years. Additionally, he learned that Vash is a blacksmith, and he is not a normal blacksmith. He learned that he is a blacksmith who can forge the lost weapons of the divinity. As a result, he received the title of Divine Craftsman. A short time later, Vash's show began, and magic circles appeared during forging. Sanraku was impressed, and Bilak explained to him what to ascend a weapon means. However, Sanraku learned that to ascend means to read the knowledge and experience of the weapon in order to upgrade the weapon to the next level. Suddenly Vash began to sing a song and he pounded on Sanraku's Vorpal knives. Sanraku was impressed by Vash, and he was excited about the new weapons he will receive. A few hours later, Vash finished forging his new weapon, and he said that the Vorpal chopper has taken its true name and form. Sanraku learned that he had obtained the twin weapon Moonblades. Then he checked the new stats of his weapon, and he realized that they were overpowered. Sanraku was grateful for this, and he planned to test his Moonblades. Suddenly, a window opened, and he learned that it cannot be wielded due to failure to meet stat requirements. He looked at his status and learned that he had to reach level 50 to wield it. After that, he met his friends in Third Rema, and he said sorry because he was late. Pencilgon and Katso were angry, and they planned to punish him for it. Suddenly, Sanraku said that he found out information about Weathermon. Before he started talking about Weathermon, he was surprised that Katso chose a female avatar, and he wasn't surprised that Katso came up with another weird nickname. After that, Sanraku started to tell them that Weathermon is called a living corpse, who'd outlived his time. They wondered if the unique monster Weathermon the Tomb Guard was an undead monster. Suddenly Pencilgon said that she've got some things to take care of. Following this, she told the two boys that they should go grind in the Iron Ruins. Pencilgon gave them fishing rods and a map to a hidden place for grinding. Before she left, she said that they just needs to follow her instructions, and she spotted Emil trying to pretend that she is a scarf. Sanraku replied that it was just the latest fashion trend, but Pencilgon knew he wanted to see Katso's reaction. After Pencilgon left the room, Emil said that she got a terrible earache. Katso was surprised that Sanraku's equipment could talk, and he told Emil that she no longer had to pretend to be a scarf. In the evening, Sanraku was told that Weathermon activates a skill at the start of the battle that sets the max level of all characters in the battle area to 50. For this reason, Pencilgon had sent her friends to the Iron's Ruins of the Divinity so that they could grind to level 50. In the following day, we see Sanraku and Katso on their way to the Iron's Ruins. He looked at the map to get to a secret area in Iron's Ruins that is perfect for grinding. After entering the Iron Ruins of the Divinity, they looked around. Katso said that this place reminds him of the game Brave Galaxy Fighter. Sanraku replied that he hadn't heard of this game because he had only played trash games. After that, Sanraku made fun of him because he was 6 levels higher than his friend. Suddenly, Emil warned Sanraku because a strange glowing rock fell on them. He learned that it was a suppression drone, and Katso told him that he can sit that out. Katso was fighting against the monster and he attacked with his one-punchman skill. Sanraku was impressed, and he noticed that Katso activated a buff on himself. Suddenly more monsters appeared, and Katso explained that his spell gives bonuses to strength and vitality. After the fight, Sanraku revealed what focus he was putting his stats on, and Emil said that Sanraku is bursting with Vorpal Soul. Katso didn't know what a Vorpal Soul was, and they moved on. While looking for the hidden place, Sanraku wondered how Pencilgon even found such a place. Katso replied that Pencilgon found the place was enough of an explanation. A few moments later, they discovered a hole, and the directions said to jump into it. Then Katso told Emil that he will jump into the hole first. Emil was impressed and said that she is an admirable lady. Sanraku tried to explain to Emil that Katso is a guy. As a result, Emil was confused, and she said life holds so many mysteries. Suddenly, he heard Katsuo calling him a loser, and he immediately jumped into the hole after him. When he arrived at the secret location, he was fascinated to see Tearlight Lake. In Pencilgon's instructions, it was written that they can find in this area a monster called Lifestyle Lake Serpent. So they started fishing, and a fish bit Sanraku's fishing rod. He only caught one life-style salmon and was disappointed with his catch. A few moments later, Katsuo caught a life-style lake serpent, and Emil was shocked about it. Sanraku said that it's time to unveil his new weapon, and he took out his Empire B twin blades. Then we see a few days before when Belak forged his Empire B twin blades. Sanraku had fallen asleep, and Belak thought that Sanraku was disrespecting her. He said sorry and cleared up the misunderstanding. When he looked at his weapons, Belak's behavior somehow reminded him of the time he had to play a dating sim. He still had nightmares about it, and Belak wondered what was wrong with Sanraku. Following this, he thanked Belak for his new weapons. Back in the present, he tested his new weapons and fought with Katsuo against the serpent. He caused that the serpent's body corrode with his right-hand blade, because his right-hand blade had a special attribute. Then Sanraku remembered that Belak told him that his weapon infects the part of his attack and corrodes it over time. Sanraku then continued to target the serpent's body to weaken it with his corrosive poison. He told Katsuo to aim at the same spot, and Katsuo attacked with a strong attack. As a result, they created a weak point, and Emil planned to them. Emil was almost killed by the serpent, but Katsuo protected her. Then the three of them attacked the monster, and they managed to defeat the serpent. Afterwards, they gained a lot of experience by fighting the serpent, and Katsuo planned to combine his newly learned skills. However, Katsuo was surprised that Sanraku didn't know anything about it. He explained to Sanraku that players can create combo skills in SLF. Sanraku was shocked by this, and he regretted skipping the tutorial town. Out of frustration, he decided to get back to grind. Later, Pencilgon was visiting them, and Katsuo planned to reveal that Sanraku skipped the tutorial town. Katsuo was threatened by Sanraku, and he promised not to tell her about his embarrassing secret. Then Pencilgon said that they don't have time to sit around and can only meet the person on a full moon. Pencilgon revealed that in order to defeat Weathermon, they need to talk to the unique NPC Setsuna.